Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen X-istentialists. Welcome into the Gen X-istentialists podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we are here to expound upon all things from a Gen X perspective for the next 20 minutes or so. We will do so by spinning Mega Wheel the Magnificent. And Bunny, how can people send us topics? Because we love getting topics for the wheel.
I would say the best way to do that is to drop us an email at genexistentialist@gmail.com, or you can just drop us a line at the YouTube page. We have a YouTube page, or all of our shows go up on YouTube. You can also just leave us a comment wherever you found this, and we will add your questions. We appreciate them. We get some weird ones in. If you want to send stuff anonymously, of course, you're welcome to do that as well.
It is very safe to hit us up anonymously. And, of course, we'll take fan fiction. We'll take questions. Don't send photos. We don't want photos. No. We won't even open those up. We're not interested. But, fan fiction might get read. And if you send a question that's entertaining enough, we might even skip the wheel and just dedicate an episode to it.
Don't send fan fiction.
I'm interested in the fan fiction for some reason. So we will give Mega Wheel the Magnificent a spin and see what kind of tasty, juicy, scrumptious topic she comes up with.
Delicious.
Here. Okay, yeah. Should schools teach comprehensive sex education?
What exactly is comprehensive sex education?
See, to me, comprehensive means that there is a practical aspect to the education that is occurring. So I'm all for it.
Well, it depends on who your partner is, I guess. But, I think schools should offer sex education as an option for students to opt into with their parents' permission and all that jazz. I don't know what comprehensive sex education is.
It shows folks from a communication perspective how one word can completely throw things off, because comprehensive does, I was joking before about the practical aspect.
I'm assuming what they mean is, like, do you learn all about gay sex? Do you learn all about transsexual crap? Do you learn all about regular sex? I mean, is that what comprehensive stuff is, or is this like, we're going to have actual videos showing people doing it, or
no?
Is it about masturbation? What's it about?
Well,
you gotta let me know.
Sex education would have to encompass masturbation.
Well, sure.
It would have to encompass the basic physiological aspects, how things work, what sexuality is, and I think that's a big part of it, is sexuality. It's not just sex education. It's not just the nuts and bolts. It's every aspect of it.
Nuts and bones.
the hows and whys and things like that.
Sure. I mean, if you're talking reproduction or you're just talking sex, there's a big difference.
Well, I think it's both. I think it starts with reproduction because that's at the heart of human sexuality.
So, yeah.
But we are a different animal. I think between us and dolphins, right? What other animals have sex for pleasure alongside reproduction? None I know of that we've studied. Monkeys may. I mean, it is an interesting question.
My dog used to like to hump a pillow pretty often. So.
Well, yeah. Those are things that you would take into account, though, because if you're a kid and you're just learning about this stuff and you've seen your dog humping someone's leg, you've been at the zoo and you've seen monkeys doing different things, you're going to have those questions.
Do I think schools should be required to do that? No. I think it should be an optional. I think it should be an option for all children to learn about sexual
And if you're a parent
education
and you don't believe, if you think you can do that just as well in the home, great.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they're going to learn about it one way or another, but I don't think school should be required.
What did we see in 6th grade? Like Disney film
Donald
strips. Yeah, they were Disney film strips. And they divided the boys and girls into 2 groups. We were in the gym and the girls were in the lunchroom, I think.
Yeah.
And then they swapped the film strips because there was one for boys, one for girls, and they swapped them when they were done. And it was just like, I don't remember anything about it except that the film strips were by Disney.
Yeah, it was actually a film, not a film strip, but I do have a copy of it.
I thought they were film strips.
No, I've got a copy of it. I'll be glad to send it to you. in my AV Geeks work, I've worked on that project, and I've seen it before, and I remember it quite vividly.
Okay, so you've seen it again as an adult.
It's a cartoon.
Was it okay?
It's fine.
Instructive?
It was to an extent. I mean, it didn't talk about, butt sex or anything weird. It was basic puberty and basic reproduction. That's pretty much what. Didn't talk about masturbation. It didn't show how ducks actually have sex, which is terrifying if you ever see it in real life. I thought there was a rape going on. I'm throwing rocks at the ducks, like, stop raping her. So yeah, that's a side story if you live in the country and you see crazy shit like that. No, it didn't show anything like that. It started with like a Donald Duck thing, and then it goes straight into like cartoon people, like boys and girls, and they're, being infatuated with each other, and then all of a sudden tits show up, and you start getting hair, and the next thing you know, we got cross sections, and then we're showing where babies come from and all that jazz. So it was relatively harmless. And
I mean, that's the basics. Then we got to high school, and there was a section in the required health class.
And the guy teaching it did not.
See, I didn't have the same teacher you did.
Gosh, I had a lummox of a man teaching us about sex, and it was off-putting. Let's put it that way. Didn't really make my interest peak any more than my testosterone fueled.
From what I remember from you guys talking about it, your class went into a lot more detail about like STDs.
Yeah, we had a lot of VD
like
talk. So
yeah, we didn't get the STD stuff. I mean, it was mentioned, but it was more about the actual physiological stuff.
See, the word shanker got thrown around way more than it should have been thrown around at 9th grade or whatever.
I remember scabies being a particular topic.
Yes.
Yeah. So, moving on from that, let's give Mega Wheel another spin and see what we can come up with. It's going to be hard to top that as an opening query. This could be good, could be bad. I'm not sure. So, what is on your bucket list?
Not much. Dying in my sleep. Does that count as a bucket list option? No, I would defer this to you, because my bucket list is. I've said it before, and it sounds arrogant and stupid, or just like I'm blowing off the topic, but the majority of the stuff that I wanted to accomplish, my goals in life, they've all been done years ago.
Yeah.
There's not really anything that I'm so desirous of that it's on a bucket list. There's plenty of things I can do. Sure, I can go see the Great Wall of China. Sure, I can go, scuba dive with the dolphins or whatever. I can do all sorts of things. Nothing is so, so precious to me that I'd put it on a bucket list.
Okay.
So how about you?
Bucket list. I want to go to the Pacific Northwest and Alaska. I want to go back to Canada, definitely Toronto, but also to the west, out to Vancouver. I love Canada. I want to go to England. I want a lot of it's travel stuff that I'd like to do, which is odd because I don't like to travel at all. But that's mainly from being diabetic and all the crap I have to take with me and all the stuff I have to deal with at an airport. That literally makes me go, nah, I'd rather stay home. I can watch a video about Alaska. I don't need to go. I want to get in a band that plays out again. I want to record a full album of original material with a band or just myself. And I think things pop up along the way. I think bucket list stuff is, like you're saying, it's stuff that we had when we were kids. And most of that stuff we've done. I've played on stage a bunch of times. I've recorded. I've written songs with people. I've done all the kind of stuff that I really wanted to do as a kid, the dream stuff. So I don't know. I can't even really comprehend a bucket list, because honest to God, everything that I just mentioned, it's not bucket list stuff. I won't feel like my life was unfulfilled if I don't do any of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a bucket list thing would be.
Yeah.
Like if you're a deeply spiritual person making a pilgrimage to the home of your religion, that's like a bucket list thing that you'll feel bad if you're on your deathbed and you haven't done it. I don't really have anything like that.
No.
Yeah.
We're a couple of boring old guys. No. At least I am.
I mean, in reality, though, we're a couple of guys that have done a lot of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
And done a lot of stuff that probably our peers maybe wish they had done.
Maybe.
I think there's always that kind of like look around, like, what's everybody else doing? And
sure.
That's one of the worst things you can do. The chronic comparing of stuff is just sort of a path to the dark side. For me, anyway. So we will give Mega Wheel of Magnificent another spin. Over 1,300 questions. Some sent in by you all, some sent in by others, some that Bunny just found in different places. It's another really general question.
Okay.
This one is, what does spirituality mean to you?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I mean...
Because it is very general.
Yeah, that's a very general question. Spirituality is sort of... It's a glue that holds me together as I age. As I'm coming apart, both metaphorically and in real time. Yeah, spirituality is subjective to everybody, of course. But I do feel like we have souls. I feel like I've been to places where I feel very filled with spirit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a real good definition for that. I'm sorry.
Spirituality for me is the metaphysics of the world, the stuff that you can't see, but you feel that it's truly there. The stuff that binds people, communities, small and large, together. I don't associate spirituality with religion necessarily. It's more of just that background construct behind things. And obviously, if you know me at all, I'm leaning toward kind of the Force, but not so much that, because it's just a spirituality in a way that we're all human. We're all part of nature. We're all part of this world. We were born of the elements that make up this world, and we will one day eventually return to them. And the fact that we're here right now, experiencing things, working with each other, communicating with each other, creating things with each other, that's what creates the web of spirituality that we all take part in and are all part of. And I think that speaks to what you said about there are certain places where you feel more spiritually alive or more interconnected. I think those places are just tuning points, places where the connection is easier or things make more sense. For some people, that may be a church. For some people, that may be the place they work. If you're in a band, it may be in the practice room. If you're a painter, it may be in front of a canvas or in front of a subject. It is subjective, as you noted, but I think spirituality is just kind of that web of interconnectedness that we're all a part of. That's my take anyway. So, yeah.
I feel like I'm going to have to give an actual answer to this next one coming up because I kind of copped out of the last two. It's
I was
very simple.
I was expecting you to bail on the last one and just like defer to me.
Nah.
And I would have been fine with that. Give you more time to come up with something. Wow. Okay. All right. This is a good one. Would you rather be able to forget your worst memory or remember your best memory better?
Remember my best memory better.
Why?
Because I already have a thing in my mind. The way I conduct my mind is like light switches.
Yeah.
And I can turn off certain aspects. Now, I've never been able to turn off some of my worst memories, of course.
Yeah.
But I can dampen them pretty easily.
Mm.
My best memories, to remember it in, graphic, amazing detail would be something that would give me comfort all the way to the end of my days. So, yeah. I'd rather take comfort over the illusion of always having a wonderful time.
Yeah. I would not want to forget my worst memories. And I don't necessarily know that I want to remember my best memories better either. Oddly enough, my fear would be that if I could do that, I would spend too much time there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the gradual fading of memories is not necessarily a bad thing, because it creates space for new, good memories. The stuff that's super important, the amazing things, will always stick with you, barring some sort of physical ailment or something like that. And having those, we rely on them. But I think you can get hooked in a little bit too tightly with them.
You don't want to create a good memory VR goon room.
No. That's kind of my fear. If I could remember my best memories better, I would be afraid that they would be so picturesque that I wouldn't want to go somewhere else. I would keep living in the past.
Yeah, that's what heaven is to me.
It could be.
Heaven is having all those wonderful feelings and wonderful memories and wonderful places that you treasured and coveted in your past there, and just experiencing that forever, kind of a thing. That's my idea of what heaven is.
See, if I had to have heaven in that context, it would be to have access to the places and the people, but to be able to create new experiences.
Okay.
And I'm really big on progress.
Mm-hmm.
Especially lately. I want to get better.
It's the progressive versus the conservative in the room.
It kind of is, but not really. It's not in a particular political scope. It's just, and it's not like, trying to learn something new every day or anything like that. It's just, I want to keep walking forward. I want to take the memories with me that have built the foundation and that provide the good vibes that I run on. But I don't need to relive them. I want to keep doing something new. I want to write new songs. I love all the songs I've written. Well, most of them. But I want to keep writing new stuff. I want to keep doing new stuff. It's just one of those things. And it's like the older I get, the more I feel driven to that and trying to live in the moment. So a question about memories and getting rid of worst ones, amplifying best ones, it's intriguing, but it's also kind of counterintuitive for me where I'm trying to be right now. So yeah, different aspects, different sides of the same coin on the question. Absolutely. And it's an intriguing question. And that would be one for you, our listeners. Give us your answer. Would you rather forget your worst memory or amplify your best memory? Because I'd be interested to see how people would swing. I assume if we had 100 people respond, it would be about 50-50.
Probably.
I really think so. But then it's also one of those oddball questions that if it went like 80-20, I would assume it would go 80 to forget the worst memory.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, just picturing a lot of people that I know. I just feel like that's where the general consensus would be, to get rid of the overly negative.
All right.
Yeah. So we will get rid of that and give Mega Wheel the Magnificent another spin.
Huzzah.
Yeah, that was kind of a dour question.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of dragged us down a little bit. Let's hope this is something a little bit better. It's perfect.
Oh, is it?
It's literally perfect. It's completely asinine, but it's perfect. What do you plan to have for dinner?
What do I plan to have for dinner? Oh, geez. I have to go to the store. Let's put it that way. When you're hearing this right now, currently my wife is out of town on some family business, and I am holding down the fort by myself, and I have been eating entirely too many frozen pizzas. So I could have another frozen pizza tonight, but not really feeling it.
Frozen? Well, see, if you had left it out before you came over here,
You could have just eaten.
You could have just eaten it when you got home.
God. Yeah. So how about you? What are you going to have for dinner?
I don't have the first clue. It's going to depend because my wife will be home by then, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, and I would be perfectly happy just doing free for all, grabbing something out of the fridge, and which would probably be a couple hot dogs and some Chex Mix and being done with it. But
it's amazing we're both still walking.
It's amazing that I haven't keeled over at some point from just pizza rolls, hot dogs, brats, and Cincinnati chili. I should have been dead years ago, I think. So you want to do another quick one?
Yeah, let's do a quickie.
We'll do another quick one. Give people more than their money's worth on this episode of the Gen X-istentialists podcast. Spinning Mega Wheel of Magnificent for one more time in this episode. And the question is, what kind of first impression do you think you give?
I'd like to make a positive one, but most of the time, the first impression I make is like when a horse walks into a bar.
What?
I am an odd-looking gentleman. If you do not know what I look like, I'm a pretty odd-looking gentleman, and I feel like when I walk into places where I am a stranger, I attract a lot of attention. That people stare at me, and they're just kind of looking at me like a horse walking into a bar. I think sometimes it's positive. I've had this discussion with my wife recently where I'm like, it's really weird. It's very black and white with me. It's like people either cotton onto me and cuddle up with me and they're all happy dappy with me, or they friggin' don't like me. It's one or the other. You're going to love me, you're going to hate me, I guess, or you're going to be freaked out by me. But yeah, and I feel like it was that way when I was younger too, especially because my hair was wild. I had hair. My hair was wild, and I wore a lot of leather, and I kind of looked a little unpredictable. So when I came in, I wanted to subvert your expectations by being the nice guy that wore crazy things.
Yeah.
Now I just look like a weirdo. I come into a room, and that's the way it is. So that's my first impressions. I'm hoping that with strangers, it's a positive one. People always seem to remember me.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I can't get away. I can't blend in a crowd. Unfortunately, people always remember me. So, how about you?
I think your first impressions are always favorable.
Oh,
I think
good. Thank you.
The look stuff, it really depends. Like when you come in like sport coat, stuff like that in a professional mode, I think you capture people's attention just with your professionalism, your attitude, the way you speak. I think anybody comes into a room, first impression is always going to be one thing, and then as soon as the person speaks, that's when things get solidified. Yeah. And I think from that perspective, I've never known you to not give a positive first impression.
Well, I appreciate that.
Regardless of whether you were in leather jacket, stuff like that, anything like that. I think my first impressions now are probably better than when I grew my hair out the last time. And I've had long hair 5 times in my life now, and cut it again last year, I think. I doubt that I'll grow it out again, just because I saw how people viewed me differently. Mm-hmm. And it was not disturbing, but it didn't bother me much when I was younger. But now at an elderly age, just kind of like, why bother? I don't want to deal with it. Other than that, I think generally the first impression I give is kind of average. I'm just a guy.
Just another gray man.
Just an ordinary average guy.
Okay.
And it really depends on the situation. If I need to give a good impression, if it's work related, safety related, something like that, yeah, obviously I'm going to come at you with that customer service kind of,
sure,
this is what I do. I am a safety professional. Let's do it this way. If I'm just walking into a room of musicians, I'm probably going to stand off to the side. I don't like being in crowds, so my first impressions, I'm going to try and be invisible.
Okay.
I don't need to be the center of attention, which is odd because I'm on a mic doing a podcast, and for me, and we've talked about this before, I don't deal well with crowds in general, but I like being on stage.
Yeah.
I like playing music. It's an odd, I'll blame it on my astrological sign, as you often do. I'm a Gemini. It makes sense if you don't think about it too much. So in reality, I probably, leave a good impression.
Yeah.
I would hope so. I mean, I've done pretty well getting jobs and getting jobs done, so it can't be all bad.
Rock on.
And on that note, we will take our leave in this edition of the Gen X-istentialists podcast. We appreciate you listening and joining us. Please tune in next time. Until then, my name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we'll catch you then. Have a good one.